Imagine a force, swift and merciless, leaving a trail of plundered riches and smouldering villages in their wake. These were the Pindaris, the terrifying scourge of central India. They were unpaid, and their compensation was entirely the booty they plundered during wars and raids. Pindaris were mostly horsemen armed with spears and swords who would create chaos and deliver intelligence about the enemy positions to benefit the army they accompanied. Their name, whispered in fear, conjured images of ruthless raiders who respected no boundaries, embodying chaos and disorder in equal measure. The Pindaris, far from being a monolithic entity, were a heterogeneous mix of diverse ethnicities and backgrounds. They were not just a single group, but a collection of various tribes and communities. The majority were of Afghan, Rajput and Maratha descent, bound together by their shared pursuit of wealth and plunder. These warriors, each with their distinct fighting styles and strategies, created a formidable force. They were an irregular military plunderers and foragers in 17th through early 19th century, in the Indian subcontinent, who initially accompanied the Mughal army, and later the Maratha army, and finally on their own. Together they formed a coalition that was feared across the region. They emerged from the Deccan Plateau in the late 17th century, their ranks swelling with disbanded soldiers and mercenaries following the decline of the Mughal Empire. The Deccan Plateau, with its rugged terrain, provided the perfect base for their operations. As the Mughal Empire's grip on the region weakened, many soldiers found themselves without a cause or a leader. The Pindaris offered them a new purpose, a chance to continue their martial traditions and earn a livelihood through raids and plunder. The disintegration of central authority in the region provided fertile ground for the Pindaris to flourish. With the Mughal Empire in decline, local rulers and chieftains were constantly at war, vying for power and territory. This chaos created opportunities for the Pindaris to offer their services as mercenaries, selling their loyalty to the highest bidder. They became a crucial part of the power dynamics in the region, their presence often tipping the scales in favor of one faction or another. Their numbers grew as they offered their services to various warring factions, including the Marathas. The inclusion of the Pindaris eventually became an indispensable part and parcel of the Maratha army, their loyalty as fleeting as the monsoon winds. The Pindaris were not bound by any ideology or allegiance. Their primary motivation was profit. This made them unpredictable and dangerous, as they could switch sides without warning if a better offer came along. The Maratha growing army never carried provisions and gathered their resources and provisions from the enemy territory as they invaded and conquered more regions of the collapsing Mughal state. The Pindaris prefer speed and surprise over direct confrontation. They were highly effective against the enemies given their rapid and chaotic thrust into enemy territories, but also caused serious abuses. They would often strike under the cover of darkness or during times when their enemies least expected it, creating chaos and confusion. These armed horsemen would descend upon unsuspecting villages and towns, leaving behind a trail of devastation. These warriors were adept at navigating difficult terrains, allowing them to appear and disappear like phantoms. Their raids were swift and brutal, aimed at plundering wealth and instilling terror. The Pindaris would meticulously plan their attacks, ensuring maximum impact with minimal resistance. The devastation and disruption by the Pindaris not only strengthened the Marathas, the Pindaris helped weaken and frustrate the Muslim sultans in preserving a stable kingdom they could rule or rely on for revenues. They were notorious for their cruelty, often resorting to torture to extract hidden wealth from their victims. This ruthless approach ensured that even the most well-guarded treasures were unearthed. Villagers would flee at the mere rumour of an impending Pindari raid, abandoning their homes and livelihoods in a desperate bid for safety. Their knowledge of the local geography and the political landscape allowed them to exploit weaknesses and evade capture. Despite their fearsome reputation, the Pindaris were also known for their resilience. After each raid, they would quickly regroup and prepare for the next, constantly adapting their strategies to stay ahead of their enemies. The early 19th century witnessed the Pindaris reaching the zenith of their power. Their raids, once limited to the Deccan, now extended deep into central India, targeting wealthy towns and trade routes. Their alliance with the Maratha Confederacy provided them with a semblance of legitimacy and protection, allowing them to operate with relative impunity. The Pindaris' reign of terror had a devastating impact on the social and economic fabric of central India. Villages were deserted, trade routes disrupted, and agricultural production plummeted. Their depredations left a trail of misery, pushing the already impoverished population to the brink of starvation. The rise of the Pindaris did not go unnoticed by the burgeoning power in the region, the British East India Company. This formidable trading entity, which had steadily transformed into a political and military force, was always vigilant about any potential threats to its dominance. Initially dismissing them as a mere nuisance, they soon realized the significant threat the Pindaris posed to their growing economic and political ambitions in India. The Pindaris were not just a band of marauders. They were a well-organized group with the capability to disrupt the company's trade routes and destabilize the region. The Pindaris' strategic alliance with the Marathas, who were the company's main rivals for control of India, further exacerbated their concerns. This alliance meant that the Pindaris had access to resources and support that made them even more formidable. The Marathas, with their deep-rooted influence and military prowess, provided the Pindaris with a significant advantage. The turning point came in 1814, when the Pindaris launched a daring raid into British territory. This audacious act was a statement of their growing power and confidence. The raid caused significant damage and sent shockwaves through the British administration. The British East India Company could no longer afford to ignore the Pindaris or hope that they would be appeased through negotiations or minor skirmishes. The British became so frustrated with Pindari raids that they formed the largest military force they had ever assembled in India to eliminate the Pindari threat once and for all. This decision marked the beginning of a series of intense and brutal confrontations that would shape the future of British India. The British were determined to assert their dominance and ensure that no group, no matter how powerful, could challenge their authority. Under the resolute leadership of Lord Hastings, the Governor-General of India, the company launched a massive military campaign aimed at the complete annihilation of the Pindaris. The campaign, known as the Third Anglo-Maratha War, saw the British forces, bolstered by their superior firepower and organisation, engage the Pindaris and their Maratha allies in a series of decisive battles. The Pindaris, accustomed to hit-and-run tactics, were ill-prepared for a conventional war against a disciplined and well-equipped enemy. Their swift horses and guerrilla tactics proved ineffective against the British artillery and disciplined infantry. Their resistance, though fierce, was ultimately futile. By 1818, within a year of the campaign's commencement, the Pindari menace was effectively extinguished. Their leaders were killed or captured, their forces scattered, and their bases of operation destroyed. The once feared raiders were reduced to a footnote in history, their name synonymous with banditry and chaos. However, the Pindaris' legacy extends beyond their reputation as ruthless plunderers. Their rise and fall mirrored the turbulent times they inhabited, a period marked by the decline of the Mughal Empire and the rise of new powers in India. Their story serves as a reminder of the human cost of conflict and the devastating impact of unchecked ambition. The Pindaris, though ultimately crushed, left an indelible mark on the history of central India. Their tale, characterized by audacity, brutality, and a thirst for plunder, serves as a cautionary reminder of the fragility of peace and the ever-present potential for chaos and disorder. Their story, though often overlooked, provides a valuable lens through which to view the complex tapestry of 18th and 19th century India.